Do you involve the students in making decisions about class process and the method of evaluation?
I took a look at this question to prepare, and I can honestly say no, not really. I think a big part of our problem is that we have to report marks to the Industry Training Authority, which governs trades training in BC. So they're telling us what they want measured, and I think the students, trade students anyway, take it as a given that we'll deal with that.
First of all, for the class process, sometimes I do involve students, particularly if things aren't working well or something like that, and so and they have some ideas for improvement. I'll certainly entertain those ideas. Also, periodically throughout a term, I'll ask them for feedback: what's working, what's not, and how things are going. And if things are off track in terms of the class process and they let me know, then I may well make adjustments. Probably would make adjustments. So I would involve them at that level. In terms of evaluation, usually I don't, but I think a key, especially for a new instructor, is how do you set up your evaluation for your course as the first time you've taught it, so that it's going to be workable. And probably the best thing there is to consult with your colleagues, see what's worked for them, and so on and so forth. And so you're not putting the responsibility onto the students there, when really it is your responsibility. Sometimes I have involved students, for example, for group projects and participation of group members. I've sometimes asked for their input on relative contributions, and that may impact a mark, but beyond that, I typically don't.
Could you give me an example of a time when you've asked for process comments, and the kind of comment you've received and the kind of change you've made?
Yeah. Again, this was early on, and one thing that came up was that I was talking too much. And that was a real eye-opener. Again, I think part of it for me was that if I'm talking, then I'm in control. And what I had to be prepared to do was to relinquish that control and let the class process work. And the students were telling me that I was just talking too much. And so I backed right off in the next class, and I fed that feedback to them, and then had a much more interactive kind of session, and it worked a lot better. The interactive approach was a case study, case discussion.
Yes, I do. Right at the beginning, I spend time looking at participation and what should be the criteria, the assignments, and when would be a good time for them to come in, depending on their schedule, and we decide what a date would be. And just talk a lot about what the group process, what the rules are for this particular group, and what are some things around confidentiality, when to speak, communicating, and we as a group do that right at the beginning. Now, often the students don't understand what we're doing and get very frustrated. They want to get on with the content, but I think to set that up at the beginning is essential, and then it carries with them throughout. So, yeah.
I kind of come and go on that one. I experiment with that a lot. I think it depends on the class, and I find some classes really want that and they really want to be involved, and then again I would go with the energy of what the class wants. But I find the majority of classes are a little mystified because they see my role as doing that.
What are we paying you for?
Exactly.
Yeah. I just have another thing to say about that, and it's in terms of the criteria for assignments. I think it's really important that the students know up front how you're going to be marking, what the criteria are, and even have them involved in developing them to some extent. But I think right at the very beginning, we need to let them know what it is we're going to be marking, how we're going to be marking, and what we're going to be using to guide us in our marking. Yeah.